Happy Arvo. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today for this exciting reaction. Well, I hope it's exciting. To be honest, it's one of those where I don't know. Because I don't know who this is. But I once again searched Google for Australian hero. And well, I've reacted to Ned Kelly, of course. And I've reacted to Sir Donald Bradman. Cricket player. To say the least. Cricket hero. And number 3 on this list is Weary Dunlop. No photo. But the description, a hero who describes his time as a prisoner of war and how he was able to save many lives. It sounds like a hero to me. It sounds pretty badass. I just can't tell if this is someone like that Google. What I'm trying to say is, do you guys know this man, Weary Dunlop? I can't tell. I don't know because I've never heard his name. So hopefully, I mean, the whole idea is that you guys do know who this is, and I'm going to learn about him. But whatever. I guess we'll see. Well, here's the video I found. And, you know, part of what gives me some pause is that this video only has like 8,000 views. So I'm like, is this kind of obscure, or do you guys know about Weary Dunlop? Yeah, I mean, you guys are just going to have to tell me. Australian Department of Veterans Affairs. And, well, if you don't know them, then I guess you're going to learn today. Check them out. Link down below. Stories of service. Okay, he was in the Second World War. Wow, a prisoner of war. Where do I buy that painting? That's pretty badass.
As a prisoner of war, survival is a battle in itself. Faced with unimaginable hardship in the worst conditions, you need courage, luck, and a healthy dose of inspiration. Well, for hundreds of prisoners of war held captive by the Japanese during the Second World War.
Okay, so he was held captive by the Japanese. I wonder for how long. My God. I can't imagine a more terrifying circumstance, to be honest. Are there movies? I feel like there need to be more movies about prisoner of war. What a terrifying circumstance to be captured by the enemy on their territory and just being held in a cage, essentially. Whew.
That inspiration would come from an extraordinary man. A doctor, surgeon, and a man of enormous courage.
He was a surgeon as well.
And compassion, Weary Dunlop.
This might be the coolest guy to ever do it, to ever do life. Weary Dunlop.
Ernest Edward Dunlop was anything but weary. He earned his nickname while playing football because, like the advertisement for the famous Dunlop tyre said, he never wore out. He studied pharmacy and medicine and even
he played football. This guy is just a badass.
Played rugby union for Australia as a Wallaby in 1932 and 1934. He had been a cadet at school and went on to join the Army Services, which he continued with part-time at university until 1929. He studied in London to become a Fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons, and in 1935 he enlisted in the full-time Australian Army, where he was commissioned with the rank of Captain into the Australian Army Medical Corps. When the Second World War broke out, Weary was posted to the Middle East, where he served in Palestine, Greece and Crete. He became senior surgeon at Tobruk in Libya.
Wow.
Before the Australians were withdrawn.
At Tobruk. The rats of Tobruk. He was there.
To fight the Japanese army that was now invading Southeast Asian countries. In 1942, elements of the 6th and 7th Australian Divisions arrived on the island of Java in what is now Indonesia. It was here that Dunlop was given.
I had no idea it was called Java.
The temporary rank of Lieutenant Colonel and was placed in command of No. 1 Allied General Hospital at Bandung. But within 6 weeks, Java had been captured by the Japanese.
Wow, the Japanese captured all the way down there, that close to Australia. Damn, it was getting real by that point, wasn't it? For Australia. It's no wonder you guys played a big part in this. I mean, On one hand, I'm like, well, you guys are secluded down there. On the other hand, if they're right here in Indonesia, you're not feeling so secluded.
Colonel and was placed in command of No. 1 Allied General Hospital at Bandung. But within 6 weeks, Java had been captured by the Japanese and the Australians were taken as prisoners of war, moved to a formidable walled stone building with confining iron bars.
Sounds about right.
Weary was placed in charge of the Commonwealth prisoners. He set about encouraging education, sport and entertainment to try to keep up the morale and...
Wait, what? He was the leader of the prisoner of war's people?
maintain the health of his fellow prisoners. Despite the personal risk of it being discovered, Dunlop kept a diary. This diary provides a first-hand account of
That's amazing.
what life was like as a prisoner of war. He recorded some of the hazards of life in the prison camp apart from the Japanese army guards. Here's one example. I had an appalling affair with a large rat which got inside my mosquito net and chewed my hair, finally running over my face and becoming tangled in the net. Finally the rat escaped. He bit my chest twice. Damn him and his family. But
Damn the rat. Damn the rat and his family. Oh my god. Wow. You know, who else better than an Australian man to put up with such conditions? Holy crap. And I just did have a bit of a stupid epiphany, but it's that obviously with how many prisoner of wars there were, it's not like the Japanese or any other country could really afford to give each one of them their own prison cell, so they kept them together for the most part. It's not cheap to run a full-scale prison, you know?
But Weary's time in Java was about to end. Now, because the sea routes were considered dangerous, in 1942, Japanese High Command decided to build a 415-kilometre railway line through the jungle, linking Burma to Thailand. This railway would help the Japanese with their plan to attack Commonwealth forces in India and assist in transporting the soldiers, weapons and equipment required for an extended campaign against the Allies in Burma. But the Burma-Thailand Railway would be hand-built by the thousands of Allied prisoners of war forced to work by the Japanese, along with many more Asian civilian labourers known as Ramusha. It became known as
That is brutal.
the Death Railway. By the time it was completed, some 102,000 prisoners of war and local workers had died during
What? 100,000?
its construction. With some 900 men under his command, what was known as the Dunlop Force was sent to the
And they literally work people to death on that. Wow, oh my god.
infamous Changi prison in Singapore, and then on to southwest Thailand where the men were put to work constructing the railway. Dunlop's unit was sent to the Hintok River camp where
My god, look how skinny, malnourished half of them look.
he devised a system of cooperative leadership. The camp adopted some important survival principles. Two of these were the fit looked after the sick and the young looked after the old. But the fitness and health of the prisoners was irrelevant to the Japanese, who were impatient to build the railway. As Dunlop wrote in his diary on the 19th of March 1943, tomorrow 600 men are required for the railway. Light duty men, no duty men, and all men without boots to go just the same. This is the next thing to murder. The Japanese guards treated their prisoners cruelly, denying them the most basic of requirements such as food and medical assistance. They would often beat the prisoners and would force them to work until some simply died. Weary rallied his fellow prisoners to try and survive the cruelty and indignation of the circumstances under which they were now living. He led by example and assumed the enormous responsibility of looking after his men's welfare. When he stood up to his captors,
That's pretty amazing, and that's pretty... If you're going to be locked away as a prisoner of war, to have a surgeon locked in there with you is pretty fortunate for those other men.
he was sometimes badly beaten and even threatened with execution. As pressure to finish the railway increased, conditions for the men deteriorated even further as the
You'd think they would at least feed them to keep them able to work.
Japanese soldiers forcibly removed sick and weak prisoners from the hospital, demanding they continue to work. All the while, Dunlop and his medical staff did their best to help their fellow soldiers try to overcome starvation, malnutrition, malaria, beriberi, cholera, dysentery, tropical ulcers, and a host of other conditions. With no medical supplies, he often improvised, making artificial legs from bamboo and crude medical equipment from whatever bits and pieces he and others could find. Examples of his improvised medical equipment include bedpans made from bamboo, cutlery turned into surgical equipment, and petrol tins made into containers for boiling water in which you could sterilise surgical items.
This dude is a hero, huh? I'm just thinking, damn, they don't have any pain relievers, though, do they? You can't improvise that. Well, I guess you can with, like, a wooden rod or a towel.
Weary's
Jesus.
reputation for keeping cool under the most appalling conditions became legend among the men he commanded. He was described as a lighthouse of sanity in a universe of madness and suffering. His care and concern for the other prisoners meant that lives were saved where in other circumstances they might have been lost. After the war, Weary Dunlop received numerous awards and honours, including Australian
So he made it out alive.
of the Year in 1977, a Companion of the Order of Australia, and even a knighthood to become Sir Edward Weary Dunlop. Weary died in 1993 at the age of 85.
Hell yeah. Nice long life.
As one of the 106 Australian prisoner of war medical officers, Weary's story of service represents their self-sacrifice, courage and compassion.
Damn. Well, I love to pay some respects to heroes like that. What an absolute badass, Sir Edward Weary Dunlop. I'm a little bit curious to know if you guys already knew all that, or if it was just me learning that for the first time. What a legend. Oh, that was very enjoyable. Shout out to Australian Department of Veterans Affairs in general, but also their YouTube channel. Link down below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.